All right, let's dive right into this explainer and unpack Peter Thiel's radically contrarian roadmap for building a profoundly successful company. You know, if you've ever looked at giants like Google, Amazon, or PayPal and thought, how on earth did they achieve such massive, world-altering success? Well, the answer absolutely does not lie in just copying what was already out there. It lies in rethinking literally everything. So today, we're exploring the foundational principles of moving from 0 to 1.
So we're starting off with this incredibly provocative interview question, mainly because it forces you to completely rethink the present in order to actually build the future. Thiel famously uses this exact question to test if a candidate can see beyond conventional wisdom. He doesn't just see the future as some time event that's ahead of us, but as a time when the world looks fundamentally different. Seriously, ask yourself this right now. Your answer is kind of like a literal glimpse into a different future. The absolute crucial point here is that true innovation, it isn't just an upgrade. It's moving from 0 to 1 by uncovering a secret truth that nobody else sees. Think about it. Going from 1 to N is just taking things that already work and copying them. But going from 0 to 1, that is the ultimate act of creation. It means you're doing something that has never ever been done before, all driven by this belief that there are still massive secrets left out there in the world just waiting to be uncovered.
Okay, here's our blueprint for today. We're going to cover 1. The contrarian truth. 2. Escaping the competition trap. 3. The monopoly playbook. 4. Harnessing the power law. 5. Building a cult culture. And finally, 6. 7 questions for success.
Let's jump into Section 1, the contrarian truth and rethinking progress. Let's see exactly how Thiel redefines the whole concept of human advancement.
So, picture two entirely different kinds of progress. First, you have vertical or intensive progress. This is going from 0 to 1, doing fundamentally new things. This is that classic Silicon Valley model of deep technology and true innovation. On the flip side, you have horizontal or extensive progress. Think of globalization, right? Taking something that already works brilliantly, like a typewriter, and just making a ton of them to sell everywhere. And yeah, while both can absolutely coexist, if you want to build a truly transformational company, you've got to be operating on that vertical 0 to 1 side of the equation.
All right, Section 2. Escaping the competition trap and the monopoly myth. What's really wild about this next concept is how it totally shatters everything we've ever been taught in business school.
I mean, most of us grew up totally believing this quote, right? We just assumed that fierce cutthroat rivalry is the ultimate driver of market success. We internalize it, we enact its commandments, and we truly believe that the more we compete, the better we get. We basically treat business like an actual war.
But actually, scratch that. Thiel bluntly argues that fighting tooth and nail for margins actually traps companies in a miserable cycle of pure survival. Take the airline industry, for example. They create massive value for millions of passengers every day, but they're locked in this brutal, never-ending competitive stalemate where they fight for absolute pennies. They're barely profitable. As the source material points out, all failed companies are essentially the same. They just failed to escape competition. At the end of the day, competition simply dissipates energy and destroys your profits. So what do you do instead? You build a creative monopoly. Think about Google back in the early 2000s. A monopoly allows you to capture massive profits and reinvest them into long-term innovation. Google dominates search so entirely that they literally don't have to stress about daily survival against rivals. And that exact freedom is what lets them care of their employees and fund those wildly ambitious, world-changing projects for the future. The big takeaway for us? You don't just want to create value, you need to capture it. And monopolies are the only way to do that perfectly.
Okay, here is another piece of conventional wisdom that we desperately need to debunk right now. Everyone loves to talk about the absolute necessity of being first to market.
But honestly, being first is completely useless if someone else just comes along and dethrones you. The real secret is the last mover advantage. It's about making the final, great development in a specific market so you can secure those cash flows way into the future. The playbook is actually pretty simple. You dominate a very small, highly concentrated niche first. Find a group of consumers served by absolutely nobody else. Once you completely own that niche, then you scale up into adjacent, larger markets. Just look at Amazon. They parlayed their early dominance in books into taking over electronics and eventually, well, the whole shebang.
Moving on to Section 3, the monopoly playbook and building defensibility. So how exactly do we build this unassailable fortress of a business?
Well, every great monopoly shares these 4 foundational pillars, and you've got to combine them to lock out the competition entirely. You need network effects, where your product actually gets better as more people use it.
kind of like Facebook. You need economies of scale, which is super true for software startups since the cost of producing an extra unit is basically zero. You absolutely need a strong brand. And, perhaps most importantly, you need proprietary technology. And when we talk about that proprietary tech, this simple number right here is your golden benchmark. It has to be at least 10 times better than any substitute out there if you want to overcome user switching costs. Marginal or, incremental improvements, they simply aren't enough to change human behavior. People just won't believe the hype. You have to be a full 10x better to definitively win and hold on to that monopoly status.
Section 4. Harnessing the power law. This is the universe's secret equation, and we're about to dive into the harsh, mathematical reality of extreme success. When you really look at the math behind massive impact, it's not some normal bell curve. A tiny minority of companies will radically outstrip all their rivals combined. It's living entirely on the extreme steep edge of an exponential curve. In nearly every highly impactful system, a very few dominate the vast majority. It's basically the 80-20 rule taken to its absolute extreme limit.
And this brings us to a staggering fact that proves exactly why investors and founders must focus exclusively on businesses with the potential to scale massively from 0 to 1. Venture capitalists know this dirty little secret. A single outlier company in their portfolio will probably return more money than all the other companies put together. The sources mention Andreessen Horowitz turning a $250,000 investment in Instagram into a $78 million return. That's a 312x multiplier. No way you get that playing it safe. Because of this math, you literally cannot afford to focus on safe, incremental businesses.
Which brings us to Section 5, building a cult culture. Because honestly, a brilliant idea is absolutely nothing without the right people.
Thiel actually compares a great startup to a cult. You have to minimize internal competition by giving everyone unique roles, and crucially, enforcing a low CEO salary guarantees absolute alignment on long-term value. A low cash salary for the CEO is the ultimate signal. Thiel points to Aaron Levy of Box.com, who paid himself the lowest salary in the company and literally lived on a mattress in a one-bedroom apartment. It forces everyone to be fully invested in the future value of the equity, rather than just extracting cash right now. Because as Thiel warns, a startup messed up at its foundation cannot be fixed, period.
And let's be real, even the most amazing product isn't going to sell itself. You have to carefully select a distribution strategy perfectly matched to your customer acquisition costs. Silicon Valley engineers are notorious for thinking great products just magically sell automatically. They don't. Whether it's viral marketing for $1 a user or complex targeted sales for million-dollar enterprise software, you have to nail your distribution. If you can get just one distribution channel to work perfectly, you'll have a truly great business.
All right, Section 6, 7 questions for success. This is the final checklist, and before you launch anything, we need to stress test your business model.
If you can't confidently answer every single one of these 7 questions, your startup is likely destined to fail. Ready? Do you have a 10x engineering breakthrough? Is now the right time? Are you starting with a big share of a small market? Do you have the right people to pull this off? What about a powerful distribution strategy? Is your market position going to be durable 10 or 20 years from now? And finally, the secret question. Have you identified a unique opportunity that everyone else completely misses?
One really important thing to keep in mind here. The most valuable companies of the future won't just use computers to replace people. No, they'll combine human and machine intelligence to solve incredibly hard problems. We see this with massive successes like Palantir and PayPal, using tech to augment human efforts, not eliminate them completely. It is all about extreme complementarity.
So I want to leave you with this final empowering question to ask yourself as you look at the world today and prepare to shape tomorrow. Finding the answer to this is finding a secret that can literally change the world. If you can answer this, you might just find your way from 0 to 1. Thanks so much for exploring this framework with me on this explainer. I hope it completely shifts how you view the future. Keep innovating, and I'll catch you next time.